Dan Mandis here. Man, the world just feels like it is blowing up, doesn't it?
It's En Fuego.
It is En Fuego. Thank you, Ken Weaver. The world is En Fuego, but not in a good way. Got all these privileged little twits out there on the college campuses doing what they're doing. We'll get into that. Oh, trust me. We'll get into that. Did you see what happened to Alec Baldwin? OMG and LOL during the Gang of Three Amigos. We'll talk about that.
This time I was actually cheering for him.
I was too, actually, Alec Baldwin, and we'll talk about that. But we also have, of course, a migrant crisis that continues as well. So when you look at everything that's going on, you've got the college campuses and cities across America that are blowing up, as we were talking about, because of all of this pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel protesting that is going on. So that is happening. And really part of what it's doing is that it's overshadowing the migrant crisis. Well, the migrant crisis, friends, is still a very big deal. Can you imagine living in these crap holes like New York and L.A. and Chicago and other Democrat-run cities across the country? And not only are you dealing with all of these anti-Israel protests, but you also are dealing with all of these migrants as well. And so the whole thing is boiling over in Chicago, the People's Republic of Chicago. And they have all of this going on. You've got crime in Chicago. You've got crumbling schools in Chicago. You've got the infrastructure that is falling apart in some areas of Chicago, particularly on the south side. And the city council, they're actually voted to use $70 million to fund illegals.
How to use our tax money for our people. We need it.
They're showing up here in New York, in Chicago, attacking people in the streets. The police are fighting with them in the shelters that you...
Yeah, and the people in Chicago, they're really angry. That was part of the testimony at one of these city council meetings where, again, they were approving tens of millions of dollars, $70 million approval for these illegal aliens. And that, by the way, the $70 million that they approved, that was in addition to another $48 million in grant money from state and federal government. And all of that is on top of another $150 million already budgeted. So that's a total of some $268 or so million. That is on top of all kinds of other money that has also been utilized for the migrants in Chicago. You know how many migrants they've received? 40,000 migrants since August of 2022. And so part of what's going on, and listen, I know. You're hearing all of these people in Chicago. You know they voted for Obama. You know that they voted for Hillary Clinton. You know that they voted for Joe Biden. And there's part of me that, on the one hand, I'm not going to say gleeful, but karma's a you-know-what, right? But there's also part of me that understands that this really could be an awakening. Because you look at what's going on in Chicago. You're looking at this city council meeting, and I see, dozens, if not over 100 of these folks that used to be Democrats, and they're black, and they're all decked out in MAGA gear. They are, I kid you not. If you look at the video, they're all decked out in MAGA gear. Make America Great Again. And they realize now the error of their ways. And by the way, it's not all just Governor Abbott. See, part of what the Democrats want you to believe is that it's nothing but Governor Abbott out there in Texas. He's the one that is sending all of these illegal aliens and these migrants to their sanctuary cities. Well, no. These are sanctuary cities, and so they're coming into this country, and then if they're not shipped to, places like Chicago and New York and so forth, then they're going on their own to these sanctuary cities because they are sanctuary cities. And so these folks in Chicago, they're really angry. And it's not just Chicago, it is all across the country. And they are beginning to understand that it is the Democrat policies that they have been voting for that are causing all of this chaos.
Now, to align yourself with somebody who's obviously a one-term mayor, if he even makes it that far, you better be worrying about your job. You better be worrying about your longevity. Because we're going to vote, and we're going to get you out. Because you ain't doing right by us. That's what time it is.
That's what time it is.
Yes, sir. I like that.
It's 5:12. That is actually what time it is, but they're really angry. And I loved watching this video. And so this city council meeting was full of, again, black folks. They are decked out in red MAGA gear. People really ticked off. And so now part of what they're doing is they're getting out recall efforts against the mayor. And they want to vote out all these city council people, too. You just heard the one woman talking about this. And they're thinking that they can do it through referendums. Because I guess for whatever reason, they can't do recalls in Chicago. I don't really understand that, but whatever. And so they're trying to do it any way that they possibly can. So now they are talking about referendums. They want the city council out. They want the mayor, Brandon Johnson, out. They want the governor, the city council, all of these people out of office. And this is part of the reporting from Fox News.
Several groups of black voters showed up wearing red shirts with the words "No More Blue, Go Red," and "Turn Chicago Red." Many of these folks are lifelong Democrats who are now actively working to shake up deep blue Chicago, specifically because of how the mayor and the governor have handled the migrant crisis, doling out more than $1 billion so far for that.
That's what time it is. So now you've got the city council, all kinds of headlines that are out there. One woman who was there, and her name is Pere Easley, and she was on Fox News.
It's the most disrespectful thing we've ever encountered in our lives. We've been paying property taxes in this city for generations, and to see them so openly give our money to people who don't deserve it is very insulting.
Well, think about it. I mean, it's not only the migrants, but it's also, of course, all of that money going to Ukraine. I think that this might be a great awakening for some of these folks on the left. And I don't know if they just haven't been aware that these policies are damaging their city or their cities across the country, but clearly they are. And so now it is finally having an impact on their daily life. I mean, aside from the financial aspects that we're talking about, don't forget that crime has gone up. Schools are in chaos. You've got measles making a return because these migrants don't have their proper vaccinations. You know, it's interesting. Matt Murphy has CNN on in the studio, and so we're watching it so that you don't have to. And it is 5:15. That's what time it is. And they are still on all of these various Trump trials. And this is what I mean about there is a disconnect between what the mainstream media and folks like CNN and so forth, there is a difference between what the American people are feeling and experiencing and what, you know, the likes of CNN think that the American people care about. Or, I'll phrase this another way. CNN is trying to sell the Trump trials as more important than they are, in the sense that they don't really impact the lives of the American people. They just don't. Now, what it will impact is the presidential election, and you see this segment actually really talks about the difference between what CNN is reporting, what people like you and I and all of us are feeling and experiencing, and what the Democrats are trying to do, which is steal the election of 2024. Because think about what we keep saying. What we keep saying is that the Democrats, they cannot win on their policies. You know why? Because we're seeing their policies destroy the lives of the American people. Destroying the experience, the everyday living experience of the American people. I just mentioned it. Crime is going up. Schools are in chaos. Measles making a return. There was a story out of New York the other day. I think this was in the news yesterday. I had it, forgot to mention it. but you had a bunch of these migrants in New York, and they wouldn't get off the soccer field, and so this high school team couldn't even play their game. They were finally able to do it, but now these kids and the parents, they actually don't feel safe just trying to go out and play soccer. This is one of their coaches.
And when you're going out there and all of a sudden your game gets canceled because people won't get off the field that don't have a permit, it's heartbreaking because the kids in New York City just went through all this with COVID. We were the last to bring back sports. Now it's going around too with other people other than kids are being put first.
Yeah, so here's what I mean by the Democrats trying to steal the election. Of course, you've got CNN and all these other MSNBC, the networks as well, and they are just breathlessly reporting on all of this Trump trial stuff. And I've got a segment on it too. But knowing that they cannot beat Donald Trump, in my opinion, knowing that they cannot beat Donald Trump on the issues, they're focused on the trials and the tribulations, the legal wrangling, and the problems that Donald Trump is facing. That's what they're focusing on. And here's the thing. Obviously, one of the things that they're doing is they're keeping Trump off of the campaign trail. And so for President Trump, it is obviously clearly frustrating for him and frustrating for everyone else. Remember what I played for you yesterday.
Under my predecessor, who's busy right now.
Yeah, that is obviously Joe Biden. And we know that Biden, in my opinion, is coordinating with local district attorneys and attorneys general in trying to keep Donald Trump off of the campaign trail by doing whatever they can to drum up these legal charges, the lawsuits, and so forth. And Trump, you know, he's talking about all of this, and he says, yeah, this is clearly not fair.
This is what took me off and takes me off the campaign trail, because I should be in Georgia now. I should be in Florida now. I should be in a lot of different places right now campaigning, and I'm sitting here. And this will go on for a long time. It's very unfair.
Yeah, so when I say that this basically, we are seeing, in my opinion, we are seeing the election of 2024 being stolen right in front of our eyes. And it has nothing to do with ballot boxes. It has everything to do with this judge and these Democrats keeping Donald Trump off of the campaign trail. And that's the thing that Biden doesn't really seem to understand.
Under my predecessor, who's busy right now.
He doesn't seem to understand that the American people actually see what's going on with all of this. There was a poll. I was watching Fox News yesterday. There was a poll, and it showed that 35% of the American people believe that Donald Trump broke some sort of a law. Now, forget about the fact that all the evidence hasn't even been seen yet in a court of law, but they are saying 35% of the American people are saying that Donald Trump broke some sort of a law. 31% said that, well, maybe what Trump supposedly did, paying off Stormy Daniels, was unethical, but he didn't break any laws and certainly doesn't deserve to go through all of this nonsense. And 14% say that the former president didn't do anything wrong. But the bottom line is when you look at that number and those numbers, you've got 45% of the American people compared to whatever it was, 35% of those that believe that Donald Trump did break a law. Vast majority of the American people believe that Trump is being railroaded. And so when you have Joe Biden talking about how his predecessor is busy right now to, you know, the laughs in the audience, well, the joke might be on Joe Biden. The joke might be on Joe Biden, and I agree with Jonathan Turley when he said, well, there's a certain segment of the American population who, if you asked them if Donald Trump was responsible for the bubonic plague, they would say yes. And you know what? That's about 35% of the American people. All of the, you know, TDS folks like Hillary Clinton. So, yeah, I do believe that the joke very well could end up on Joe Biden because the American people, I think that they see what's going on and they don't like it. Problem Trump has is that in New York, and we'll go over this in the 6 o'clock hour, the problem that Donald Trump has is that in New York, it's going to be really difficult. They've already settled on the jury. It's going to be really difficult for the president to get a fair trial. And the reason why that's going to be difficult is because you have all of these people in New York who absolutely detest Donald Trump. And so it doesn't matter that the lead prosecutor for Alvin Bragg actually came from the Biden administration. Did you know that? Yeah. You think that 35% that believe that Donald Trump broke a law, you think they really care about the fact that clearly Biden is coordinating with Alvin Bragg? Probably not. You think that jury cares? Probably not, because they hate Donald Trump.